Mr. Chair, we're live.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, good evening, everybody. 6:01, we'll get started. Want to welcome you all to the July 22nd, 2021 meeting of the City of Greenville Board of Adjustment. My name is Michael Glenn. I'm the chair of the board. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body that is governed by the North Carolina General Statutes and the city's Code of Ordinance. We conduct evidentiary hearings on requests for special use permits, variances, appeals of administrative decisions, and interpretations. Before we begin, I just want to remind everybody of a few things. First, tonight's meeting will be conducted in accordance with the newly enacted statutes and Session Law 2020-3, which allow for remote meetings and quasi-judicial hearings during declarations of emergency. Second, each applicant on tonight's agenda was notified before being placed on the agenda that this meeting would be conducted using a remote electronic platform. Every applicant on tonight's agenda has consented to the board conducting the evidentiary hearing on their request using this remote platform. We will also confirm tonight at the start of each evidentiary hearing that the participants in the hearings consent to the matter proceeding in the remote platform. No case is proceeding tonight in which the city has been contacted by an individual who objects to this meeting being heard by way of remote platform. Third, notice of this meeting was provided to the applicants and public in numerous ways. Specifically, notice of tonight's evidentiary hearing was provided by mail to all property owners within 250 feet of each subject property. The mailed notices were sent 2 weeks in advance of the meeting date and within the law to provide such notice. And each notice letter notified the recipient of the remote meeting platform. Notice was also provided by posting signs on the site of each property, publishing notice in the newspaper, and providing notice on the city's website. Each of these notice methods were also done within the legal requirement to provide such notice. The notices for tonight's meeting contained information about the means by which the public can access the remote meeting as the meeting occurs. Fourth, any individual wishing to participate in tonight's evidentiary hearing was required to sign up prior to the meeting to participate. Information about the sign-up requirement, along with the information about how to sign up, was included in the mailed notice letters sent to each property owner within 250 feet of each property. This information was also included on the board's website, and among other information, a link to the board's website was included in all methods of notice. No case is proceeding tonight in which anyone contacted the city to voice an objection to the remote meeting platform. All individuals participating in tonight's hearing were also required to submit a copy of any presentation, document, exhibit, or other material that they wish to submit at the hearing prior to the meeting. All materials that the city received from the participants, as well as a copy of city staff's presentations and documents, were posted online on the Board of Adjustment meeting schedule and agenda prior to this meeting. All materials that will be discussed can be viewed at any time during the meeting by visiting the Board of Adjustment page on the city's website and clicking the July 22nd agenda and meeting packet link. No new documents will be presented at tonight's meeting, and all decisions of this board are subject to appeal with the Pitt County Superior Court. Finally, all individuals who signed up to participate in tonight's meeting were mailed a witness oath form prior to the meeting. Any individual planning to testify or submit evidence in the hearing was notified that they must sign the oath form prior to the meeting. We will reaffirm everyone's oath on the record this evening. All right, Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn.
Here.
Rodney Bullock.
Here.
Ann Bellis.
Here.
Hunt McKinnon. Christopher Lilly. Sharon Evans.
Here.
Nathan Cohen.
Here.
Ryan Purtle.
Here.
John Landrine.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Phillips, if you would please let the board know who will be voting this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, all members present tonight are voting members for the meeting.
Thank you. All right, we've called the roll. The second order of business would be the approval of the June 24th, 2021 minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Bullock
Second.
and a second by Ms. Bellis. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Ronnie Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ron Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
Thank you. We have two city staff members present who will be presenting this evening, and that is Ms. Elizabeth Blunt and Mr. Travis Wellborn. I'd like to get you both sworn in. If you would please raise your right hand. All right, do you swear or affirm that the evidence you will provide in the evidentiary hearing of tonight's meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I'll ask Ms. Blunt first.
I
Thank you, Ms. Blunt, and Mr. Wellborn.
do.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Phillips.
Good evening. As stated on pages 2 and 3 of the meeting handout available to the public, the evidence to be considered by the Board of Adjustment is as follows. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body that makes a decision concerning an application, petition, or appeal based on the evidence presented by those in favor as well as those in opposition. The members of the Board of Adjustment are laypersons, and as such, the rules of evidence that are followed in a court are relaxed for cases heard before this body. Though the rules of evidence are relaxed, it does not mean that they are ignored. Only evidence that is material, competent, and substantial will be considered and may be used by the board in its decision-making process. The board may not consider, nor is it admissible to present or offer affidavits, letters, or other writings in support of or in opposition to a matter before the board unless the person who prepared the writing is testifying. These writings are considered hearsay. Statements by a person such as, in my opinion, the application will create a traffic hazard is not an admissible opinion and may not be considered by the board. However, such an opinion may be admissible if it is made by an expert or a person who is qualified to give opinions concerning traffic hazards is making a presentation to the board concerning his or her investigation and the basis for his or her conclusion in the report. A layperson can give an opinion, but he or she must present facts to show how the proposal affects his or her piece of property specifically and not just in a general way. A statement that another person who is not present and not testifying either supports or doesn't support the petition or application is hearsay and is not admissible. The same rule applies to both the applicant and those in opposition. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160D 109 and 160D 406 and Section 4 of the Board of Adjustment's Rules of Procedure, no member of the Board of Adjustment shall participate in either the discussion or vote on any special use permit, variance, or appeal from an administrative officer's decision in any manner that would violate the affected person's constitutional right to a fair and impartial decision maker. Prohibited conflicts include but are not limited to a member having a fixed opinion prior to hearing the matter and not willing to consider changing his or her mind, an undisclosed ex parte communication with the person before the board, any witnesses, staff, or other board members. Decisions on either a request for recusal by a member or objections by a person appearing before the board shall be decided by a simple majority vote. No board member shall take part in the hearing, consideration, or determination of any matter in which the board member is involved or has a financial or personal interest. Personal interest shall be defined as having a family member involved in the project under consideration, a neighborhood association involvement where the board member is on the governing body of such association, or where the board member is involved in a conflict or dispute with the applicant on a matter unrelated to the application. If a board member has had such a conflict, he shall declare the conflict and request to be excused from voting on the issue. A majority vote of the remaining members present shall be required to excuse the member. No board member shall vote on any matter deciding an application or appeal unless he shall have attended the public hearing on that application or appeal. No board member shall discuss any case with any parties in interest prior to the public hearing on that case, provided, however, that members may receive and or seek information pertaining to the case from any other members of the board. If a board member has had an ex parte communication regarding any of the matters to be considered tonight, that needs to be disclosed at this time. Hearing none, to the board and to members of the public, please note that a variance hearing, that for variance hearings, a four-fifths vote of the board is required to grant a variance. For all evidentiary hearings, the decision will be made by a simple majority vote of the board. The hearings tonight are quasi-judicial evidentiary hearings. That means that they are like court hearings. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this board must make its decision. These rules are different from other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases. The board's discretion is limited. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. Witnesses should provide factual testimony as to how this project does or does not meet the standards. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not on personal preference or opinions. Participation is limited. This meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties with standing have the right to participate fully. In order to act as a party in a case, in any of these evidentiary hearings being heard tonight, an individual must have legal standing. In accordance with North Carolina General Statute 160D 406D and 160D 1402C, herein referred hereafter for expediency purposes as the standing law, the following persons have standing to participate as a party in these evidentiary hearings. Parties with standing may present evidence, call witnesses, object to testimony, cross-examine witnesses, and make legal arguments. The city of Greenville. Number 2, the applicant. Number 3, a person who has an ownership interest in the property that is the subject of the application, a leasehold interest in the property, an interest created by easement, restriction, or covenant in the property, an option or contract to purchase the property. Number 4, an unincorporated or incorporated association to which the owners or lessees of property in a designated area belong by virtue of their owning or leasing property in that area, or an association otherwise organized to protect and foster the interest of the particular neighborhood or local area, so long as that at least one of the members of the association would have standing as an individual to challenge the board's decision, and the association was not created in response to a particular development or issue that is the subject of the appeal. Or number 5, a person who will suffer special damages as a result of the board's decision. Evidence of standing may include proximity to the subject property, damage to property values, and secondary impacts upon the requested development. Though they are not parties to the hearing, other witnesses may present competent, material, and substantial evidence that is not repetitive as allowed by the board. If you wish to act as a party, please provide evidence to establish that you will suffer special damages from the requested development. Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called by the board. General witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, this board needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts of increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. All witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. The board must base its decision upon evidence in the record, not personal preference or opinion. So, and this goes for everybody as we go forward with these evidentiary hearings. Please identify the name of the applicant and the owner of the particular property at issue. And if the applicant or owner is a corporate entity, please accurately identify for the board and for the record the corporate entity's correct corporate name. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. All right, I believe we are moving into old business. All right. Item number 1 under old business is a public hearing on a request for a special use permit by VSS Arlington LLC. The applicant, VSS Arlington LLC, desires to operate a tobacco shop Class 1 pursuant to Appendix A, Use 10FF of the Greenville City Code. The proposed use is located at 215 East Arlington, Suite D. The property is further identified as being tax parcel number 47881. We will now open the public hearing, and we have some registered speakers for this item. Looks like Mona Gillum and Samir Ahmad. And have we got you guys present?
Are you able to hear me?
Okay, I can hear you, Mona. Ms. Gillum, hey.
Hello.
All right, and is Mr. Ahmad with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, on the call. Okay. All right. When I call your name, if you would, please state your name and address for the record, and please confirm for the record that you consent to proceed in this remote platform this evening. And again, Gil, you're first. If you would please give me your name and address, and also consent to proceed in this remote platform.
Absolutely. I'm Mona Gilliam. My address is 111 Greenfield Boulevard, Greenville, North Carolina, 27834. And I do give my consent.
All right. Thank you. All right. And Mr. Ahmad, your name and address for the record, and if you consent to proceed in this platform this evening.
Yes, I consent to proceed, and my name is Samir Ahmad, and my address is 330 Clematis Street, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33401.
All right. Thank you both. Now I ask you to please both raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you'll provide in the evidentiary hearing of tonight's meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Ms. Gillum?
I do.
All right. And Mr. Ahmad?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, do you would you like to address standing these two speakers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Bear with me one second. And I'll start with Ms. Gillum first. Ms. Gillum, are you the applicant or the owner in the property? All right, I can't, maybe it's my,
Are you able to hear me?
yes, ma'am, I can hear you now.
Okay. I am. I'm the applicant.
Okay. And can you identify, do you have an ownership interest in the property or a leasehold interest in the property?
I do.
Okay. And so you have a leasehold interest in the property, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then Mr. Are you offering Mr. Ahmad as a witness in the case, or does he also have a leasehold interest in the property?
He has an interest in that property as well.
Okay, he has a leasehold interest or a an option or contract to purchase, or is a leasehold interest also?
Leasehold.
Okay,
I'm the leasehold, and his connection is I'm a franchise. He's the franchisor.
he's the franchise owner.
Right.
Okay, and so based upon that, I asked the board if is there a motion that Ms. Gillum and Mr. Ahmad have standing to participate in this remote quasi-judicial proceeding as both leasehold, having leasehold interest in the subject property?
So moved.
All right. Sorry. Got a motion by Mr. Bullock. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Miss second by Miss Evans. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
And
right.
thank you, Mr. Chair, and Ms. Gillum and Mr. Ahmad.
All right. Thank you all. We will now hear from our planning staff. Ms. Blunt?
Good evening. This is part of the continued request from last month's meeting. If you recall, there was a separation requirement that prevented a tobacco shop 2 from being able to open at this location. Since then, staff has spoken to the applicant and they have decided to split the space and have one part for tobacco shop 1 and the other part for a private convention center. The property is located near the southeastern portion of the city, close to the center. The proposed use is located at 215 East Arlington Boulevard, Suite D. The property is 0.5 acres in size and has approximately 135 feet of frontage along East Arlington Boulevard. The applicant wishes to operate a tobacco shop 1 in this part of the unit. The property is zoned CG, general commercial, and surrounding zoning districts are also CG. The surrounding developments include Blunt Recreational Sports Complex to the north, Arlington Plaza to the south, WITN to the east, and Century 21 Elite Properties to the west. The property is located within the office institutional character type as designated by the Horizons Plan. The proposed use is not in compliance with the future land use and character map, which recommends office and institutional civic development for the subject property. However, the existing unit is vacant. This is a view of the property from Arlington Boulevard. This is a closer view of the unit. And if you'll see, this is the beginning of the wall that will separate this unit. Notice was mailed to property owners within a 250-foot radius of the property on July 6th. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Daily Reflector on July 11th and July 18th. Included in your package was the definition of a tobacco shop class 1 and its specific criteria. As a reminder, the major difference between a class 1 and a class 2 tobacco shop is a class 2 can sell water pipes, hookah pipes, bowls, water bongs, etc., and a class 1 cannot. Staff has several recommended conditions. The property shall not operate or evolve as a hookah cafe without the issuance of a change of use or a special use permit for such use. The property shall not operate as a tobacco shop class 2. No LED or flashing letters like strips of signs shall be permitted along the glass nor the outside of the building. Advertisement shall not cover more than 25% of the windows, no doors. No loitering permitted outside of the business. No smoking shall be allowed on the premise, and they must comply with all federal, state, and local laws. Other comments include it must meet all North Carolina state fire and building codes. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Blunt? All right, we'll invite the applicant to speak at this time and tell us about their application. Is that going to be Ms. Gillum or Mr. Ahmad? Ms. Gillum, I don't think we can hear you. Is anyone else having trouble hearing her? Okay.
No, I think we had that same issue. Are you able to hear me better now?
It's kind of muffled.
Samir,
Yes.
please share. I don't know why you all can't hear me. Would you be able to share, please?
Yes. Sorry. What is it that we're looking for?
Okay, we were just asking the applicant to tell us about the application. We were having a little trouble hearing Ms. Gillum. Did you want to
Okay. So
start off?
yeah, definitely.
And if you would,
So you know,
just 1 second, if you would, just once again state your name for the record, and then you may proceed.
my name is Samir Ahmad, and you know, like we just recently heard, originally back in June, we had applied for the tobacco class 2, but we were made aware that because of the distance limitation, we fell a little short. and we couldn't do it. So then that's why we're here today to, change it to Class 1. And I understand that, in restriction in Class 1 is that we will not be able to do the water pipes and glass, and stuff like that. And of course, we're not planning to have a hookah lounge or anything. We are a diverse, the main purpose of the application is to, contribute with the city's economy as a small business, and also start as a retail, main focus on the tobacco and, smoke-related products. It is going to be a retail store. It will not be a lounge. And then, we have, as combination, as part of the smoke, we have different, products as well as part of the use, like the novelties, gift items, and, beverages and stuff like that. So that's really what we're planning to do. And, and that's what we were hoping today to get it all finalized so we can start with that business as soon as possible.
All right. Before I invite Ms. Gillum to speak, does the board have any questions for Mr. Ahmad? All right, Ms. Gillum, we can try to hear from you again.
I do apologize about the volume. I cannot figure out just kind of echoing with the here conversation. Just wanted to bring business.
I think we're still losing you.
Yeah. And let me add one more thing. This is Samir Ahmad.
Yes.
That, this is like Ms. Gillum mentioned earlier, this is actually will be part of a franchise. We're in the business for over 10 years. It's well established. We expanded outside, we started in Florida, we expanded outside Florida now, and we have locations in Texas as well. And this will be the first one in Greenville. It's a well-established business, a lot of, good financial support in the back, and it's a really nice business. One thing I should add, our model is not a typical, like a vape and smoke shop, where typically it's dark and, people don't feel comfortable. Ours is a little different. We call it like a boutique, little high end, where we attract really good customers as well, because we carry, different products too. And our environment and the store setup is really nice and welcoming. So that's what you guys will see if everything goes well. And that's what we hear from the customers too. It is not a very typical smoke and vape and smoke shop. It's more of a high end and better environment and better experience for the customers.
Sure. Okay. Well, Ms. Gillum, I invite you to add, but I'm not sure if we're getting all of your. That's a little better. Maybe if you speak up.
Oh, great. Okay. So being that I grew up here with the ECU, I will tell you that this tobacco shop really reminded me, or should remind you of High Rise on Evans Street. So that's the kind of atmosphere our stores in Florida represent or remind you of.
All right. Okay. Does the board have any questions for either of our speakers?
Yes. Could one of you give me a better idea of some of the products that you sell?
Yes. So in terms of understanding what in part of the Class 1, so the products we carry, we'll have some of the, the rolling papers. We will have cigarettes. We will have, some novelty items, some gift items. We will also have some CBD products, which is definitely as part of within the legal confines of the law, which has a good medicinal benefits. I mean, those will be the main, products we will carry, knowing that, we have limitation with the water pipes and, the hookahs. We also will be carrying shisha, which goes into the hookahs, and some accessories which goes with it. And, things like these. And then with the gift items and novelties, they're add up. We carry beverages. We'll have some snacks. So there will be more these kind of product lines, if you were,
In addition to vape liquids.
Sorry, what was that?
Vape.
Mhm.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Say it again.
One thing that you didn't mention, I just wanted to add is the vape. Could you hear me, vape? Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, it's pretty, the audio is pretty broken. Any other questions from the board? Okay, Ms. Blunt, could you please provide the staff recommendation?
Staff has no objection to the request with the recommended conditions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blunt. Okay, we'll close the public hearing and open the floor for board discussion. I'm just going to make one comment, and I heard this brought up at a prior meeting about the with some of these other stores that we've approved on this board, tobacco shop.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
You're a little low yourself.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay, it may be my connection. I apologize. Can you hear me okay? Is that
We
any
hear
better,
you.
guys?
You're just low.
Okay, okay. All I was going to say is I think that Ms. Blunt addressed the, there was a recommended condition about flashing lights and window signage. So I think that was brought up before, and I'll just, say that again. I think that that's been included in the staff recommendation. So any other discussion?
No, this is Samir Ahmad. So I think we agree. There will not be any flashing lights next to the on the windows or outside. We will abide by that. And I think what I heard previous, what I think maybe Ms. Dillon trying to say was, I missed one thing. There will be some, vape-related products as well, like the juice, e-liquid, and all of that as well. I think that's probably what she was referring to. Just wanted to add that.
Yes, sir. Okay, we will now read the special use permit criteria, and for expediency, the criteria read by reference. You may call for a vote on any criteria as read. Your silence on each criteria is recognized as a vote in favor of the application. Comprehensive plan, health and safety, detriment to public welfare.
Mr. Chairman,
Use
conditions
detrimental.
and specifications is number one. Sorry. I didn't hear that. Maybe you said it, but
No. It's broken between two sheets, so I'm sorry. I'll back up. Conditions and specifications. Comprehensive plan. Health and safety. Detriment to public welfare. Existing use detrimental. Injury to properties or improvements. Nuisance or hazard. All right, do we have a motion for approval of finding of facts?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bullock and a second by Ms. Cohen.
Nathan.
Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
Thank you. And do we have a motion for approval of the petition with the staff recommended conditions?
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Landrine. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, Mr. Ahmad and Ms. Gillum, your petition has been approved, and appreciate your patience.
Thank you so much. This is Samir Ahmad. I really appreciate everyone's attention to this matter.
All right, thank you all. I apparently have got a not very good internet connection, so bear with me just a minute. I'm going to try to switch devices here. My apologies.
So this is Samir Ahmad. Are we good to go? You guys have any further questions for us?
No, Mr. Ahmad, you need to stay because you got part 2. The convention
Got
use.
it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Taylor, can you try letting me into the meeting from a? I'm going to try to join with my cell phone. See if this connection's better.
Do you need another link?
I think I'm
You're
in there.
you're good.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, is that any better, guys?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I've got Wi-Fi here, but for some reason it's not great, so I'm on a cellular connection. Okay. All right, still good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Unmute.
Okay. All right. I'm back. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Item number 2 under old business is a public hearing on a request for a special use permit by Shalom Affairs LLC. The applicant Shalom Affairs LLC desires to operate a convention center pursuant to Appendix A, Use 8L of the Greenville City Code. The proposed use is located at 215 East Arlington, Suite E, and the property is further identified as being tax parcel number 47881. All right, and we've got a few speakers. We'll now open the public hearing, and I believe our only registered speaker for this item is, again, Ms. Gillum. Mr. Phillips, do we need to go through the procedure again with Ms. Gillum?
Just have a couple of matters. Ms. Gillum, who is the owner of the property itself?
Jeffrey Smith.
Jeffrey Smith. Is he going to be speaking tonight?
He's not.
Okay. All right. And so can you state for the board, besides being the applicant, how else are you affected with this particular project?
I have a lease interest in this project as well.
Okay. And so is it your company, Shalom Affairs LLC? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen of the board, is there a motion that Ms. Gillum has standing to participate in this remote quasi-judicial proceeding because she is both the applicant and has a leasehold interest in the subject property? That is the motion. Is there a motion to be made on that?
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Bullock. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, who was our first second there? I'm sorry.
Ryan.
Okay, Mr. Pirtle. All right, great. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes?
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Pirtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right. And we will not need to swear in Ms. Gillum again. So, Ms. Blunt, if you would please give us the staff report.
Oh my.
Okay, this request is part 2 of the continued case, and it's for convention use. The request is located at the same location as we just spoke about for the tobacco shop, which is 215 East Arlington Boulevard, but it's going to be in Suite E. Same zoning districts, all surrounded by CG, general commercial, same surrounding developments. The property, once again, is office institutional character type in the horizons. It's a vacant unit. Pictures once again of the unit. The notice for this particular request was also mailed on July 6th and published in the Daily Reflector on July 11th and 18th. Staff has a couple of recommended conditions. The property shall not be a place of entertainment, shall not operate as a private club as defined by the City of Greenville zoning ordinance. All renters shall be screened, contract signed, and a representative from the center shall be on the premise on site during the events. No alcoholic beverage permitted outside of the building. The noise level shall not exceed 65 dBA, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. or 60 dBA, 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. The applicant must have a North Carolina licensed security guard on site during the events. The hours of operation shall not surpass 12 a.m. and the proposed use must comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Other comments include the project must meet all North Carolina state fire and building codes, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Blunt. Any questions from the board for Ms. Blunt? We'll ask Ms. Gillum again if you'll speak up and just once again state your name for the record, and if you could tell us about this part or this application.
Absolutely. Mona Gilliam, this event convention center, during the day, we will have Wi-Fi, will be a Starbucks kind of feel. As a school principal for many years, just having that space where you're working with Wi-Fi and able to work in a comfortable atmosphere that will be offered to the public during the day. The private convention will be offered after hours from anywhere from 6 to 11 for celebratory events that will be screened and ensured for safety purposes. Also, the space will be available for conference meetings. As a school principal and central office staff, we were always looking for a space outside of the district to have those meetings. So that is what I kind of envision that space to be.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. All right, Ms. Blunt, can you give us the staff recommendation?
Staff has no objection to the request with the recommended conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Blunt. We'll close the public hearing. Any board discussion? Okay. For expediency, the criteria will be read by reference. You may call for a vote on any criteria as read. Your silence on each criteria is recognized as a vote in favor of the application. Special use permit criteria are as follows: conditions and specifications, comprehensive plan, health and safety, detriment to public welfare, existing use detrimental, injury to properties or improvements, nuisance or hazard. Do we have a motion for approval of the finding of facts?
So moved.
Mr. Bullock, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, was that Mr. Pirtle?
Cohen.
Cohen.
Mr. Cohen. All right, thank you guys. Madam Clerk.
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Pirtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, and we'll now seek a motion to approve the petition with the recommended conditions.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Bullock
second,
and a second by Mr. Landrine. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes?
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
yes,
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gillum, your application has been approved. And we thank you for your patience. Wish you success with your location.
Thank you. I certainly want to thank each of you for your attention and time. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We will move on to new business this evening. All right. First item under new business is a public hearing on a request for a special use permit by Keel. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Keel Slayton and Ravensthorn LLC.
That is
The
correct.
applicants Keel Slayton and Ravensthorn LLC desire to operate a personal service not otherwise listed. Guys, we're getting some background. Okay, if you can mute for us, thank you. All right, the applicants Keel Slayton and Ravensthorn LLC desire to operate a personal service not otherwise listed, microblading, pursuant to Appendix A, Use 15A of the Greenville City Code. The proposed use is located at 2708A East 10th Street. The property is further identified as being tax parcel number 18592. We'll now open the public hearing. And we have, and again, if you'll help me with your name, is it Keel? I think you're muted.
Yes,
Okay.
my name is Keel Slayton.
Keel, all right, I got it right. Great, awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. All right, if you would please just state your name and address for the
Wait a
record.
minute, Mr.
And,
Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Keel, do you have a television on?
Oh, man.
Or are you looking at the broadcast some other way on YouTube or something? Because we're getting a
Yeah,
lot
we're
of
getting
feedback.
some feedback.
I'm on an iPad right now. Let's see here.
Someone else in the room looking?
I don't
No,
know if
man.
that makes any difference, but if everyone of the board members put their thing on mute, that might help.
Yeah, maybe if everybody is not speaking.
Here, would you put my phone in the other room too, just in case that's creating a little feedback? Is that better?
Yeah, we can try that. Okay. Okay. Where were we? Okay. I think I read everything. All right. I think I'm hearing myself in your device.
I hear you clearly.
Okay. Why don't we do this? If you can mute yourself until it's time for you to speak, I think that'll cut it out.
Okay, I'll mute it now then.
Okay. I think that might be it, guys. Okay. He's going to have to unmute again here in just a minute, but we'll get two little pieces of business out of the way. If you would please state your name and address for the record and that you confirm to proceed in this remote platform.
My name is Keel Slayton. The address is 2708 East 10th Street, Greenville, North Carolina.
All right. And if you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you'll provide in the evidentiary hearing of tonight's meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, Ms. Blunt, if you would please give us the staff report. And Keel, if you would just mute while we get through this.
This is a special use permit request for personal services otherwise not listed, and it's microblading. The proposed use is located at 2708 East 10th Street, Suite A. The property is 0.44 acres in size and contains 2 commercial multi-unit buildings. The property has approximately 146 feet of frontage along East 10th Street. The applicant wishes to operate a microblading and micro shading business and a combination of 4 units in the building number 2708, totaling 1,200 square feet. The property is zoned, The property is zoned CG, general commercial. Surrounding zoning districts are CG to the north, the west, and the east, and R9S, residential single family, to the south. The surrounding developments include Colonial Heights Shopping Center to the north, single family dwellings to the south, Ivan's Beauty Shop and Revive Health and Wellness Facility to the east, and Pirates Auto Sales and Repair Shop to the west. The property is located within the commercial character type as designated by the Horizons Plan. The proposed use is in compliance with the future land use, which recommends commercial development for the subject property. This is a view of the side of the unit. This is a view of the front of the unit. Notice was mailed to property owners within 250 feet on July 6th. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Daily Reflector on July 11th and 18th. Staff has the following recommended conditions. They must obtain a permit from the Department of Public Health as required by the North Carolina General Statutes 138-283 and comply with any other health department requirements, including but not limited to sanitation, first aid, vaccinations, health certifications, disposal of needles, and any other biohazard waste material. They must comply also with 15A NCAC 18A.3200 and any other federal, state, and local laws and regulations. No loitering permitted outside of the business. Services shall be limited to microblading and shading only and shall not include body art, body piercing services, or other types of tattoos. The comments include that the project must meet all North Carolina state fire and building codes, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blunt. Any questions for staff? We will invite Mr. Slayton back to the conversation. You can unmute yourself, and if you would, once again, state your name for the record and tell us about your application.
My name is Keel Slayton. The application is for a microblading and micro shading studio. It is going to be a DBA that is based off of Ravensthorn LLC called Ravens Rose. There are 2 individuals currently under the employer or expected to be employed. One of those is my fiance, the other my sister. Both have completed training and hold the required credentials to perform these procedures. Yeah. Do you need any like other information? I don't know.
We can see if there's any questions from the board. If you'd like to end it at that, we can ask the board if they've got any questions for our applicant.
Please do. Would you like me to mute?
Briefly, that might be good.
Okay.
Okay. Any board questions for our applicant?
I have a question for the applicant. Is
Yes,
the particularly the microblading, is it under the Board of Cosmetic Arts, or is it currently not overseen by any board?
It is currently not overseen by any board. The only requirement to perform these types of procedures is a license from the health department for tattooing, cosmetic tattooing. So at this time, sir, no, there is not.
Very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for our applicant?
I have one.
Mr.
Could you
Landrine.
explain exactly what microblading is, as far as how it's different from like tattooing and all? I don't exactly what microblading is.
Okay, so microblading and microshading is a process where specific tools are used to reshape and rebuild the structure of the eyebrows. So generally the procedure as it begins, you have a consultation with your client. Your client comes in, the artist will do what's called a brow mapping. So they'll sit down and they'll map out the facial structure, and then they will map out the brows as they would sit on the face. Once that's done, then there's a light anesthetic that is applied to the brow each. And then once that is taken into effect, the procedure begins. Of course, after, you go through all your health department stuff. So like sanitation, sterilization, all those different steps. And then they use either a machine or they can use a hand tool. And what they do is they'll go into the brow where they've previously mapped and marked, and they will go over those marks lightly and then start to carve in, for a harsher word, those new strokes. That's the microblading. The micro shading is a process used with the machine where once the strokes have been applied on the ends of the brows and maybe some spots where it may be lighter and need more pigment applied, the machine goes in and they will shade that pigment in to give that full look to the brows.
Okay.
Is
Mr.
there
Landry,
any,
is that?
so is there any specific licensing or something that someone needs to do this, especially the part as far as administering anesthesia?
No, sir, at this time, there is not. Typically, you can find some studios and some artists where they'll just go in and they'll be performing these procedures without any training. So what we've done is we've gone to a step further. We've gone to a licensed teacher who is, her name is Ivy, Brows by Ivy. She's in Raleigh, North Carolina. We did a 5-day training course there in Pennsylvania, and the girls had received their certificates for that. With those certificates, what we plan to do with those, or what we hope to do with those, is to show that we're not just artists or a studio that's coming in with no experience. Rather, we're showing that we do have experience and we do have credentials that would foster a level of trust between the client, the community, and the artist.
So eyebrows are the only thing that you'll be working on?
Eyebrows, yes, at this time, ma'am. So it'll be microblading and micro shading, just the eyebrows. There are other services that can be added to this, like you can do lip blushing. There's a process where you can get a light tint, and that tint will go across the lips. It kind of sets in as a dye. And if a client is, if they're happy and they say, oh, I really like that, then there's a process where you can go in and you can micro shade that blush or that tint into the lips. There's another procedure that you can do, eyeliner. So it's just basically the same. You can't use an anesthetic with that because it changes, because the skin is so thin, it changes the elasticity in that skin. So it just goes straight in. There's other services like scalp pigmentation, where men that are balding or women that are balding, you can go in and you can put fine strokes into their scalp to give it the appearance of hair, which gives them a much fuller kind of look. So there are other services that we would potentially like to add into in the future. Most certainly, we're looking at doing some Botox, and we're also looking at doing laser tattoo removal as well. So the Raven's Rose, which we're speaking on now, the hope is that it would develop into a Medi Spa. So this is like the foundation for the Medi Spa, like the training, the experience that the women will get, and the evolution of it, so to speak.
We have to get a permit for each of these additional procedures? Or does this permit cover that?
I do believe that this permit is just for the microblading and the micro shading. I didn't speak with Ms. Blunt about anything further. So as of this time, our intention is to do microblading and micro shading only. And then if there's when it comes time and the certifications and whatnot are in place for the practitioners, then we would once again petition for, the allowance to do that, or what the process is for allowance to be able to perform those procedures.
All right. Any other questions for our applicant? Okay, Ms. Blunt, could you give us the staff recommendation, please?
Staff has no objection to the request with the recommended conditions.
Right. Mr. Slayton, if you would just mute yourself again, appreciate that.
You got it.
Okay, we will close the public hearing. Is there any board discussion? All right, for expediency, the criteria will be read by reference. You may call for a vote on any criteria as read, and your silence on each criteria will be recognized as a vote in favor of the application. Our special use permit criteria are as follows: conditions and specifications, comprehensive plan, health and safety, detriment to public welfare, existing use detrimental, injury to properties or improvements, nuisance or hazard. Do we have a motion to approve the finding of facts?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bullock.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Bellis. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes?
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yeah.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion for approval of the petition with the stated conditions?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bullock
I second it.
and a second by Ms. Evans. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, great. Mr. Slayton, so we've approved your application on this item, and it looks like if you'll hang with us, you are also going to address us again for the second item under new business. So
Yes.
we will move into that, and you'll mute yourself for us again. Okay. All right. Item number 2 under new business is a public hearing on a request for a special use permit by Keel Slayton and Ravensthorne LLC. The applicants, Keel Slayton and Ravensthorne LLC, desire to operate a personal service not otherwise listed tattoo shop pursuant to Appendix A, Use 15A of the Greenville City Code. The proposed use is located at 2706A East 10th Street. The property is further identified as being tax parcel number 18592. We will now open the public hearing. And our speaker again on this item will be Mr. Slayton. You are already sworn in. So we will, I think we can move right to Ms. Blunt, if you could give us the staff report.
Okay, this is a special use permit for personal service otherwise not listed, a tattoo shop. It's the same property as the previous request, just a different building. Property, once again, is located in the northeastern portion of the city. It is 2706 East 10th Street, Suite A. Property, once again, is 0.4 acres. The applicant wishes to operate a tattoo shop in 2 units in this building, totaling 1,300 square feet. Property, once again, is on CG. Everything around it from north, the west, and the east is CG. To the south is R9S, single family residential. Same surrounding developments. And the same future land use, which is commercial. This is a picture of the building 2706 from the front. This is a side view of the property. Notice for this request was also mailed on July 6th to those that are 250 feet away from the property, published in the Daily Reflector also on July 11th and the 18th. Staff has the following recommended conditions that are very similar, but just a little different. Must obtain that permit from the Department of Public Health is required by the North Carolina General Statutes 130A 283. Must also comply with North Carolina General Statutes 15A NCAC ISA .3200, which are the rules governing tattooing from environmental health and any other federal, state, and local laws and regulations. They must not violate North Carolina General State Statutes 14-400, which is tattooing, body piercing prohibited regulations for those under 18 years of age. There should be no lottery permitted outside of the business. Other comments include the project must meet all North Carolina State Fire and Building Codes prior to occupancy, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Blunt. Any questions for Ms. Blunt? All right, Mr. Slayton, if you would please just once again state your name for the record and tell us about this application.
My name is Keel Slayton. The address is 2706 East 10th Street, Greenville, North Carolina. The application under review is for Ravensthorn LLC, which is a tattooing studio. We do plan to perform all, or just perform, the tattoo. We're just doing tattoos there.
All right. Sounds like you got the whole block there. All right.
Working on it.
I hear it. All right. So we'll hear from the our board. Any questions for Mr. Slayton about this application? Okay. All right. Ms. Blunt, can you give us the staff recommendation?
Staff has no objection to the request with the recommended conditions.
We'll close the public hearing. Is there any board discussion? Okay. All right. And just as before, we will read the criteria by reference. You may call for a vote on any criteria as read. Your silence on each criteria is recognized as a vote in favor of the application. Our special use permit criteria are as follows: conditions and specifications, comprehensive plan, health and safety, detriment to public welfare, existing use detrimental, injury to properties or improvements, nuisance or hazard. We have a motion to approve the finding of facts.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Bullock
Second.
and a second by Mr. Landrine. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yeah.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yep.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the petition with the recommended conditions?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Cohen and a second by
Mr. Bullock.
Mr. Bullock. All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Slayton, your application is approved, and we thank you for your patience. Wish you success with your venture there on 10th Street.
I'd like to thank you all for your time today. I really appreciate it. If any of you would like to stop by and check it out at any point, please feel free.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
All right, we are moving on to item 3.
Do I need to stay here or what do I need to do?
No, sir, I believe you're good to go. Ms. Blunt will contact you if there's anything else.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Item number 3 is a public hearing on a request for a special use permit by Sheets Incorporated. The applicant Sheets Inc. desires to operate a convenience store with gasoline sales and restaurant with a drive-through pursuant to Appendix A, Use 10B of the Greenville City Code. The proposed use is located at 1000 Charles Boulevard, and the property is further identified as being tax parcel numbers 74017, 00287, 11692, 21041, and 20804. All right, we have some registered speakers for this case, and let me get you guys pulled up. All right, we got everybody in the meeting, Taylor?
Yes.
We do.
Okay. All right. When I call your name, if you would please state your name and address for the record and confirm that you consent to proceed in this remote platform. First on the list is Tom Anastasi.
Correct. Tom Anastasi, work for Sheets, address 5700 6th Avenue, Altoona, Pennsylvania, and I do consent.
Thank you, sir. If you'll stand by. Next speaker is going to be Jamie Gerhardt. If you would please state your name and address for the record and that you consent to proceed in this remote platform.
Jamie Gerhardt, Sheets Incorporated, business address 5700 6th Avenue, Altoona, PA. I do consent.
All right, thank you. All right, Philip Dixon.
Phil Dixon, 1727 Greystone Place, Greenville, 27834. I'm an attorney here in Greenville. I'm simply representing the applicant. And I do.
All right. All right, thank you, sir. And last on our list, speaking is going to be Dwight Vernelson. We got Mr. Vernelson.
Dwight, you need to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. I've been pressing buttons the whole time. My name is Dwight Vernelson. I'm with Rivers and Associates, the engineers for the project, and I do give my consent. Oh, my address is 107 East 2nd Street, Greenville, North Carolina.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we're going to get the four of you sworn in. If you would all please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you'll provide in the evidentiary hearing of tonight's meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And I'll address Mr. Anastasi first.
I do.
All right, and Mr. Gerhardt?
I do.
Mr. Dixon?
I do.
Mr. Vernelson?
I do.
Thank you all. If you will stand by just a minute. Mr. Phillips, did you want to address, I believe it's going to be Mr. Dixon, who's sounds like he'll be representing the applicant.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. And Mr. Dixon, if you will, when you present your witnesses, if you will, help us out with regard to whether the witnesses you're offering them as parties withstanding or parties that will be appearing as expert witnesses. And if they are appearing as expert witnesses, if you would go through a little bit of their qualifications with the board and then tender them in the field that you desire them to be tendered as an expert witness.
All my witnesses are experts and I'll tender them as such. The applicant here is Sheets Incorporated. The owner of the property is Robert L. Capps under the business name 10th Properties LLC. As many of you know, Dr. Capps is a retired dentist here. He formerly owned what was the Crow's Nest, which became the location for the existing Sheets, and also had his dental practice next door, which is now the location of Carolina Pregnancy Center. Both those, the store and the office building, are proposed to be demolished, and this would be a rebuild to enlarge the site of the existing Sheets and to build a new store at that location. It would be bordered on all sides by the 4 streets, so it's a much larger footprint. I have as witnesses here James Gerhardt, who's the Director of Real Estate for the Southeast region for Sheets, Dwight Bernelson, as many of you know, is a professional engineer with Rivers and Associates, and Tom Anastasi, who's a professional engineer, who's the engineering permit project manager. And as I go through my questions with each witness, I'll establish their expertise. This is, as you know, a application for a special use permit. It's an amendment to an existing special use permit. We obtained the first special use permit back in 2007. Probably the best evidence for our request is the fact we've operated successfully at that site for 14 years. But this is an exciting new project that will address a lot of issues that are actually a positive thing for Greenville, and will actually address some safety concerns of some adjoining properties that have been an issue for a while. The first witness I'd like to call would be James Gerhardt, and with your permission, Mr. Phillips, I'll proceed.
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, what we'll do is we'll just go through each with Mr. Dixon's lead.
If I may, Mr. Gerhardt, can you state your name again for the board, and how you're currently employed and what your duties are generally with Sheets?
Jamie Gerhardt, Sheets Inc. I've been with the company 21 years, the last 14 of which in real estate. Live in Durham, North Carolina, have most of Virginia and North Carolina for the company, and currently director of real estate in the southern region.
And what would be your areas of expertise? I believe you were the person who actually originally selected this site as a location for a sheet store. Is that correct?
The site selectors are responsible for identifying, researching, and making the deal with the property owners, and then assisting the permit managers.
And how long have you been doing this with Sheets?
14 years.
Have you done it with anyone else? Is Sheets the first company you've done this kind of work for?
I started as a Sheets store manager and have been with Sheets, all of that. So no other commercial real estate, but a ton of Sheets experience.
And how have you been involved in this project, and how many such projects have you done?
We're up to 104 or 5 stores in North Carolina, and I've been involved in just about every one of them.
You and I have been involved in a handful of these. You were doing the same thing, I believe, out on Fire Tower Road, and you just constructed a new store near the hospital. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this is something you've been doing on a regular basis?
Thankfully, Sheets has been in a growth mode, and yes.
Can you talk about the reasons for the proposed demolition and rebuild, why you're doing this or proposing to do this?
Well, back in 2007, when we came before this board, we were proposing a first-in-class facility. We pride ourselves on our offer, and at the time, our 5,000 square foot store was first in class. Over the 14 years, times have changed. Customers have made more interested in our food and beverage. Customers are more demanding. And with this proposal, we would once again be able to build and operate a first-in-class facility. You may have noticed our newer stores out by the hospital, our other rebuild efforts. It is a cycle of stores that we are constantly seeking to keep our facilities first in class. This offering not only will have indoor seating, which our customers are asking for, but will also include a drive-through. And in the last 15 months, drive-throughs have become essential to a ton of customers, a ton of new customers, in how they operate, how they essentially shop. And as an essential business, we were open throughout the entire pandemic, and we realized that having a drive-through is very key to providing for our customers.
Mr. Gerhardt, if I could interrupt you just a minute, and we're gonna need to hear a lot more from you. But Mr. Dixon, if you could just help us establish the role that your speakers are going to play in the hearing, so that we can get the staff report from Ms. Blunt, and then we can go back to hearing from everybody.
I don't mind getting the staff report if you prefer to do that initially. We're just trying to forecast our evidence and give you a basis for making your findings of fact A through G. And one of the things I wanted him to address was the type of investment, the changes in the character of the neighborhood, some of the changes that are being made that address some of these safety concerns. Would you prefer to hear from Ms. Blunt first?
Yeah, Mr. Phillips, do we want to have Mr. Dixon address the other speakers and their role in the presentation first?
On each of them?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
it's really that's fine. Go ahead and have each one, and then if he's if Mr. Gerhardt's going to be tendered as an expert in real estate development, for example, go ahead and do that and vote on each one, and then we can go to the staff report.
Well, let me stop right here, and just based on his experience and background, I'll tender Mr. Gerhardt as an expert witness in real estate development. and ask that he be approved as an expert for testimony purposes.
Okay, and let's ask the board, is there a motion to accept Mr. Gerhart as an expert in this field?
So moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Evans
Second.
and a second by Mr. Landrine, I believe. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock. Rodney Bullock.
I think Rodney's muted.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ann
Sorry.
Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
Okay, all right. Mr. Dixon, if you'd like to present your
Yeah,
next.
our second witness will be
witness.
Dwight Vernelson. And Dwight, can you just state your name and tell us something about your background with Rivers and Associates? What licensing you have?
Yes, my name is Dwight Burnelson. I'm with Rivers and Associates. I've been with Rivers for a little over 36 years now. I'm a registered professional engineer since 1986.
And how long have you been working in development, real estate development such as this? And can you give me any idea of how many of these applications you've submitted and how many development projects you've been working on over the years?
A lot. I know that we've been involved with Sheets now for about 15 years, and I think this is somewhere between 28 and 30 Sheets projects that we've worked on. And I've worked in the private development side since I got here at Rivers, excuse me, about 36 years ago.
And your greatest source of expertise would be 2 years you spent at East Carolina University and then 2 lesser years at NC State. Is that correct?
3 years at NC State, actually.
Well, it probably took 3 years to catch up, don't you think? But as a professional engineer, you have had to demonstrate to the state of North Carolina a certain level of expertise when it came to research development. Is that correct?
That is correct. We had to take tests, and you take your EI exam, and then you practice under someone for 4 years, and then you take your PE exam. Pass them both.
I'll tender Mr. Vernelson as an expert witness unless you require additional testimony.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept Mr. Burnelson?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bullock
Second.
and a second by Ms. Bellis. Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, Mr. Dixon, do you have
And one more, Your Honor.
one more to present?
Mr. Glenn, Tom Anastasi is a professional engineer as well. Tom, your official title is what?
Engineering Permitting Project Manager.
And what's your educational background and your licensing?
Civil engineering by education and professional North Carolina license.
And what are your duties and responsibilities with Sheets as an engineering permit project manager?
So Jamie on the real estate side essentially finds the sites. We work together. I hire the team of professionals, engineers, attorneys, geotech, transportation, whatever team is needed to get the project permitted and handed off to construction.
So you deal with the architecture, the materials, the upgrades, the underground storage tanks, the lighting, the fixtures, the technology, all the particulars of the site development. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And your licensing as professional engineer is based on some licensing from the state. Is that correct?
Correct. Same as Dwight. So after you're done with school, you take the engineering intern, an 8-hour exam. You pass that. You have to go under a professional engineer for 4 years. Take the next exam and another 8-hour exam and pass that, and you are a licensed engineer to maintain, yearly.
Now, Tom, in spite of the fact that you don't have a degree from East Carolina University, you do have expertise in this field?
I do have a degree. Mine is from not NC State or ECU, but UNC Charlotte.
Okay. Well, if you can't go to ECU, I guess that's sufficient. I would tender Tom as an expert witness.
All right. We'll ask for a motion from the board to accept Mr. Anastasi as a expert in his field.
Can I proceed now with presentation of evidence, or do you want to hear from Elizabeth Blunt first?
Just 1 minute. I'm looking for a motion to get this out of the way, and then we're going to hear from Ms. Blunt. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Bullock, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Landrine. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, Mr. Blunt, or excuse me, Mr. Dixon, stand by just a minute. We're going to hear from Ms. Blunt now.
Okay, I'll make this quick so Mr. Dixon can get back to his presentation. This is a request to amend a special use permit for a convenience store with gasoline sales and a restaurant drive-thru to include outdoor dining. The property is located near the center portion of the city. The current location is 1000 Charles Boulevard. The property right now is 1.4 acres in size with frontage along the 10th Charles and 4th Streets. The site is located within the Center City revitalization area. The property also fronts 2 major thoroughfares, 10th Street and Charles Boulevard. The applicant wishes to purchase the Carolina Pregnancy parcel and rebuild the facility to cover the entire city block. The proposed use will have frontage along 10th, Charles, 11th, and 4th Street. The total size of the property will be 2.05 acres and include a convenience store with gasoline sales, outdoor dining, and a restaurant with drive-through. The property is zoned CDF, and surrounding zoning districts are CDF to the south, the east, and the west, and OR office residential to the north. The surrounding developments include the ECU Life Science and Biotechnology building to the north, the Carolina Pregnancy Center, North Carolina Court Reporting and Single Family Homes to the south, Krispy Kreme, Charles Boulevard Shops and Proximity Student Dormitory to the east, Subway, Hibachi Express, T-Mobile, Starbucks, and a parking lot for Power of His Presence to the west. The property is located within the commercial character type as designated by the Horizons Plan, and it is in compliance, which recommends commercial development. This is a view from 11th Street. I was trying to include both properties or both parcels from Charles Boulevard. This is a view of the back of the property from 4th Street. This is the special use map that gives you approximate location of where the actual store will be, the drive-through, which will be behind the store, proposed drive-through, and the canopies and the entrances from Charles Boulevard, 11th Street, 4th Street, and right in only off of 10th Street. Notice was mailed to the property adjacent property owners on July 6th. It's published in the Daily Reflector on July 11th and 18th. Staff has several recommended conditions. They were originally granted their permit back in, I think, 2006. So there were some applicable conditions from that previous special use that we want to continue, which includes pedestrians should be able to access the development from Charles and 10th Street, which they currently can. A low 2 or 3 foot screen wall ahead shall be constructed, separating any parking from all streets. Sidewalks shall be installed along all streets, which they are proposing. Street trees shall be installed per existing requirements at this location, which they will abide by. An on-site and canopy lighting shall not be shielded and directed to prevent the light cone from crossing the right-of-way line or perimeter of the property, which they have done in the past. We also need to have the final platting, stormwater management, erosion control, and site plan approval before the issuance of a building permit. Parking shall satisfy both the gasoline fuel sales and restaurant with a drive-through service requirements. Outdoor amplified paging of patrons, guests, or employees shall be prohibited. And then the outdoor amplified sound, including music, shall be allowed, provided any sound transmission device, system, and or speaker shall be oriented in a manner that directs all mechanical and or amplified sound toward the restaurant and away from any building or abutting residential property lines. No amplified sound shall be audible from any point located on any property zone for residential purposes. The outdoor dining area shall not be visible from the adjacent residential property through the installation of opaque fencing and or landscape, which they're proposing some landscape. No restaurant related outdoor accessory activity shall be allowed outside of the designated outdoor activity area. No outdoor activity shall be permitted to overflow into any parking area or yard area. There should be no live outdoor music, floor show, or dancing associated with any outdoor activity area. Any sound transmission device, system, and or speaker shall be oriented in a manner that directs all mechanical and or amplified sound towards the restaurant building or the convenience store and away from any abutting residential property line. No television transmission, movie projection, and or computer display excepting personal use of laptop computers shall be viewed from the outdoor activity area. Exterior light associated with outdoor activity area shall be directed away from all public and or private streets, away from property zone for residential purposes. No exterior light shall shine directly into a residential dwelling or premise. Exterior lighting shall comply with the City of Greenville lighting standards. No exterior neon lighting, no neon light signs, and no flashing signs shall be allowed in conjunction with the principal use restaurant and or accessory outdoor activity area. And the development layout shall be in accordance with the setback requirements and location of menu reader board for a restaurant utilizing drive-through services listed in the City of Greenville zoning ordinance. Other comments include the project must meet all North Carolina state fire and building codes, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blunt. Any questions for Ms. Blunt? All right, we will turn it back over to Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon, if you would just remind your speakers to state their name for the record, and you may proceed with the presentation.
And members of the board, we have no problems with the conditions that are suggested. Mr. Gerhart, would you state your name again, please, for the record?
Jamie Gerhart, Sheets Inc.
Mr. Gerhart, during COVID especially, and in recent years, would it be fair to say that when available at your other stores, there's been a dramatic increase in the number of drive-through ordering that you've had?
That's correct.
And you do not currently have drive-through ordering at this particular site, is that correct?
Correct.
That's one motivation for making a demolition and rebuild?
That's correct.
Now, interestingly, you're not increasing the number of gasoline pumps at this site, is that correct?
That's correct. The model continues to shift towards the ultimate convenience store, the ultimate one-stop shop inside the store.
And with the substantial number of new student housing projects and rather large ones nearby, a focus is, and we expect the focus to be, continued increases in pedestrian traffic to a store such as yours.
I would expect increase in pedestrian traffic. That's why the four sides having sidewalks is important.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you propose to do is you're not really increasing the store dramatically in size. You're going from a little bit less than 5,000 square feet to a little bit more than 6,000 square feet. Is that correct?
That's right.
And the primary purpose of that is to add dining inside, akin to what you have out at the hospital?
Correct. Those two stores will feel very similar.
And you'll have indoor dining for about 30 people, is that correct?
Correct.
And outdoor dining for approximately 16 seats and at 5 tables, is that correct?
Approximately, yep.
And about 44 parking spaces?
Correct.
And one of the things you're trying to do is creating your drive-through that will go around the back of the building. That'll put a bay there for 8 cars can be in your drive-through at any one time, is that correct?
Yes, that is shown on the map.
And that would reduce the number of people, we believe, who would stop at the store, go inside and make a purchase and come out. Instead, they just drive through and make a purchase. Is that correct?
There's two totally, yes, there's different occasions. You know, the same customer may stop inside one time and later in the week on a different occasion could benefit from the drive-through.
What kind of investment are we talking about here?
This is over a $4.5 million investment.
And also the removal of an adjoining office building, which lessens the impact of anything that you will do. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Anything you wish to add?
We have 26 employees now. I talked to the district manager. She expects at least 5 more with a slightly larger store and the drive-through component.
Any questions for this witness? If I may, then I'll call Dwight Vernelson. Dwight, are you available to testify? Can you state your name, please?
Name is Dwight Vernelson with Rivers and Associates.
Dwight, as a professional engineer, you are responsible for doing the plot plan and for making sure we comply with these conditions for the special use permit. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you address those issues? And I'm particularly interested in the health and safety issue because of some issues that we're trying to address that not only address our concerns, but concerns the adjoining property owners.
Yep, let's talk about health and safety. By utilizing the whole block, this opens up just more opportunities and gives more options for ingress and egress. Right now, we're proposing 4 driveways. The existing right-end driveway on 10th Street will remain as is and stay in place. On 4th Street to the west, the full-service driveway will shift a little bit just to align with our proposed parking lot and drive aisles. Same condition with the existing driveway on 11th Street. That will shift to line up with our parking lot as well. Currently on Charles Boulevard, there's an existing full service driveway, and that will be changed to a right in, right out only driveway. We have been in conversation with the city of Greenville and DOT, and what we're going to do is put in a concrete median. It'll begin at the stop bar at the intersection of 10th Street and 10th Street and Charles Boulevard, and continue down to 11th Street intersection. And that'll provide.
Right, in that regard, when you were developing or assisting with development of the proximity student housing complex, the same thing was done. There was a small median put in the highway to prevent turns across traffic. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it is all about cutting out the left turn movements.
And according to DOT, there's a real hazard there with people turning into the Krispy Kreme and also the Charles Boulevard shops, trying to turn left when there's no turn lane there, correct?
That is correct, yep.
There's also a problem with people turning across several lanes of traffic to get the sheets. So by adding this 18-inch median along that corridor between the sheets and the Krispy Kreme and the Charles Boulevard shops, you'll be eliminating a traffic hazard. Is that right?
That is correct, and it should be a safer corridor.
And henceforth on Charles Boulevard, you'll have only right in traffic and right out traffic. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, if I just go down these criteria, Dwight, does it comply with the city's minimum standards for conditions and specifications?
Absolutely, yes. We'll do a site plan and we will meet those minimum requirements.
And it is, in your professional opinion, in compliance with the Horizons 2026 Greenville Community Plan?
We do comply with the Horizons Plan, yes.
Now, one of the things that we are enlarging this site to accomplish is to improve traffic flow internal and external, but also there are now opportunities for access, ingress, egress, and regress on 4 sides. Is that correct?
That is correct, yep.
So you've got 2 roads that we didn't have before that can provide assistance in emptying traffic both on 11th Street and 4th Street. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the drive-through will empty into 4th Street side. Is that correct?
That is correct, yep.
The entrance that you have on 10th Street is at a diagonal, and that's somewhat, I guess, a traffic calming device, but you have reworked the entire internal traffic flow for this site to make it safer and to spread out this store over a larger area. Is that correct?
That's correct. By using all 4 streets, you just get more options and more opportunities for ingress, egress.
Can you tell me about the adjoining properties? What exists with respect to this property on the east, west, north, and south?
To the west is some commercial area. Some of it's vacant. Some of it is occupied. To the south, there is a single family and a business there as well. Of course, to the east is the Krispy Kreme and the Arlington Shopping Center.
Well, the concrete median will probably take care of any issues with respect to Krispy Kreme and Green Boulevard shops and the major highway you got there at Charles Boulevard, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And on the west, you've got 2 vacant lots and a retail shopping center behind the 4th Street, correct?
That is right, yep.
And then over across 10th Street, the new Life Science and Technology building for ECU. Yep. On the south side, there are 2 residences and an office building. Do you know how close the nearest residence is to the outdoor dining area for the store?
Approximately 162 feet, looks like.
Anything else you wish to add?
We will comply with the city's requirements for the parking as well as the screening. And other than that, be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? If not, I'll proceed to Tom. Tom, can you state your name for the record?
Tom Anastasi, Sheets Inc.
Tom, can you talk about how different this store is from the earlier store that was built there about 2007?
So 2007, no indoor dining. If you went into the older stores, everything seemed kind of congregated together. When you go in our newer generation stores, similar like over at Moy Boulevard, you'll go in and there's more of a separation between restaurant and convenience. Not any kind of barriers, but just the overall feel when you walk inside, that you'll have more of a restaurant feel in one side and a convenience store on the other side. The older generation stores also incorporated LED lighting, but as everything evolves, as we've evolved and the technologies have evolved, we're going to update all the lighting inside and out to more modern, I guess, LED lighting. So that's a similarity. The tanks, they have definite life left in them, but with
the underground storage tanks for the pumps.
Correct, the underground storage tanks. Not saying it's old or bad technology, but while we, put $4.5 million back into this, we're going to replace these tanks and offer new products also at this location. So, and again, no drive-through. This one will have a drive-through, just more convenience for the customers.
One of the things you're proposing to do is to offer ethanol-free gas at this particular site.
That's correct. We are remodeling the store over at Fire Tower as well. We're not rebuilding that one, but we're remodeling it. And at that location also is going to be ethanol free. So at all of our new stores and remodels, we'll have just about every type of blended gas and ethanol free gas available to customers, including the diesel product as well. So there's lots of options.
Most recently, you built a new store at the hospital, and you're currently going through a demolition and rebuild of your store on Fire Tower Road. Is that correct?
At Fire Tower, it's a remodel. It's demoing maybe 1, 2 or 3 walls, gutting the inside, and then rebuilding a slightly larger footprint, not a complete rebuild like this one, because at that one we don't have the room to rebuild our larger, newer generation store. So that one remained the similar footprint, but more updated finishes and new tanks, canopy, and stuff.
And as far as the architecture and the materials and construction, would be very similar to what you have at the hospital?
They're all similar, even to the old 15-year-old stores, but there are some noticeable differences, if you compare it to the one over at the hospital. It's a different stone treatment at the bottom now. The brick is essentially the same, but we're not reusing any material. This is all going to be new material.
Tom, anything else you wish to add?
I don't. I'm just, thank you for all your time and effort on every project that we work on in Greenville. We're excited to hopefully get you another one here, a more modern one.
That would be our showing. I would like to be heard before I close my remarks.
Yes, sir.
I came in contact with Sheets back in 2006 to work on one of the first projects. I've done a handful of these projects for them. They are a remarkable success story. They give health insurance to part-time student employees. They have 457 beverages in their store. They have an incredible quality of product. All 3 of my sons go there to eat all the time because you can watch the food being prepared and it's excellent. And that's one reason they're going to have this indoor dining and outdoor dining. I think with all the student housing that we've got, we need to encourage more pedestrian traffic. The drive-through is also going to help. We don't see this as being a huge increase in volume of business there because we're not changing the number of pumps. We do see it as meeting the needs of the area and avoiding people getting on the highway. I go to that store almost every day when I'm coming to work to get a newspaper and buy an apple, but it's a wonderful store as it is. But by spreading it out and by buffering it on 4 sides with these new roads, it's going to also eliminate the existing traffic we have from the office building, which is now housing Carolina Pregnancy Center and used to house Robert Capps dental offices. It's really a great project. It's a nice addition, and I hope you'll approve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. All right, do we have any questions from the board for Mr. Dixon or the applicant? We appreciate your thoroughness of your presentation, everyone. Any questions? Okay, Ms. Blunt, could you please give us the staff recommendation?
Staff has no objection with the recommended conditions.
That will close the public hearing. Is there any board discussion? All right. Okay. For expediency, criteria will be read by reference. You may call for a vote on any criteria as read, and as always, your silence on each criteria is recognized as a vote in favor of the application. Special use permit criteria are as follows: conditions and specifications, comprehensive plan, health and safety, detriment to public welfare, existing use detrimental, injury to properties or improvements, nuisance or hazard. If hearing no objection, do we have a motion to approve the finding of facts?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Bullock.
Second.
And was that a second by Mr. Landrine?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. And do we have a motion to approve the petition with the staff recommended conditions?
So moved.
With a motion by Mr. Bullock
Second.
and a second by Mr. Landrine. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ian Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
Do we get everybody, Taylor?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it froze.
I'm sorry. Okay, all right, thank you all. So with that, the application is approved, and thank you everyone for the thoroughness of your presentation and continued investment in Greenville.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. All right. We good to move on? Okay, item number 4 under new business is a public hearing on a request for a special use permit by Brett Flory. The applicant, Brett Flory, desires to operate a major repair facility pursuant to Appendix A, Use 9A of the Greenville City Code. The proposed use is located at 0 Whitley Drive. The property is further identified as being tax parcel number 08387. Okay. We have several speakers on this request. All right, we'll open the public hearing now, and when I call your name, if you would please state your name and address for the record and confirm that you consent to proceed in this remote platform. First is going to be Brett Flory.
My name is Brett Flory, and 879 Junction Drive, Allen, Texas, and I consent.
All right, thank you, sir. And then we have Alex Horner.
Alex Horner here. My address is 37 Brighton Circle, Charleston, South Carolina, and I consent.
And all right, we have Kyle Hoyt.
Yes, Kyle Hoyt here. Address is 396 Evian Way, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and I consent.
All right, thank you all. All right, we'll get you sworn in at this time. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you will provide in the evidentiary hearing of tonight's meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And we'll go right down that list again. Mr. Flory?
I do.
All right, thank you. Mr. Horner?
I do.
All right, and Mr. Hoyt?
I do.
Okay, thank you all. Mr. Phillips, do you want to address standing in this case?
Yes, I assume Mr. Flory will be taking the lead on this. And if, Mr. Flory, if that's correct, you're listed as the applicant on this matter, correct?
That is correct.
And the owner of the property is McNeil Properties LLC, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, if you will announce how you have an interest in the property, as well as Mr. Hoyt and Mr. Horner, if you can let the board know how they are affiliated with the project.
Okay. I am the architect for the project, and Mr. Hoyt is the civil engineer, and Mr. Horner is as well.
Okay. And so okay. Is the applicant, let's see. So really y'all are all three witnesses rather than, none of y'all have an ownership interest in the property, correct?
No.
Okay, nobody has a leasehold interest in the property?
No.
Are you appearing for someone with a leasehold interest in the property?
Yes.
Who is that entity or person?
McNeil Properties. They're the landowner and developer for the Caliber collision at that location.
So it's a Caliper collision project?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any representative here from Caliber Collision?
No.
Okay. All right. One moment, board members. All right, Mr. Flory is listed as the applicant. So is there a motion that Mr. Flory has standing to proceed as the applicant in this quasi judicial proceeding?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Bullock's motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bellis. All right, Madam Clerk.
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen, Ron Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine,
Yes.
Oh.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
Okay.
Ms. Phillips.
And yes, and Mr. Hoyt and Mr. Horner, when you go to speak, and probably this would probably be the quickest way to do it, would be when you are actually presenting your begin to present your evidence. If you will go into your qualifications, and Mr. Flory, if you could help assist them and how you plan to tender them, if they're a professional engineer, for example, expert in professional engineering or those types of things. So probably that's the best way to do that when you are actually presenting your case in chief.
Will do.
All right, Mr. Chair, if you proceed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. We will hear from Ms. Blunt.
Okay, this is a special use permit request for a major repair facility. The proposed location is near the southern portion of the city. The proposed use is located along Whitley Drive. The subject property is 2.2 acres in size and has approximately 740 feet of frontage along Whitley Drive. The applicant wishes to operate an auto body paint and repair facility. The property is zone CG, general commercial. All surrounding zoning districts are CG as well. The surrounding developments include the vacant lots to the north, Sam's Express Car Wash to the south, a vacant lot to the east, and a vacant lot at CarMax to the west. The property is located within the mixed-use, high-intensity character type as designated by the Horizons Plan. The proposed use is in compliance with the future land use, which recommends commercial development for the subject property. This is a view of the property from Whitley. This is the special use map. It shows the approximate location of how the facility would be set up in accordance to Whitley Drive. Notice was mailed to property owners within 250 feet of the property on July 6th. It was published in the Daily Reflector on July 11th and 18th. Included in your meeting package was the definition of a major and minor repair facility and its specific criteria. Staff has the following recommended conditions: that final plat and stormwater management, erosion control, and site plan approval will be issued, required prior to the issuance of a building permit. All vehicles on the premises for services shall be stored at the rear of the property and screened so as not to be visible from adjoining property lines and street right-of-ways. All services shall be performed within a complete enclosed building, and the property shall not evolve into a junkyard, automobile graveyard, or materials reclamation facility. Other comments include that they must meet all North Carolina state fire and building codes prior to occupancy, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
All right, any questions for Ms. Blunt? All right, we'll hear from the applicant. Mr. Flory, if you'd like to start, and from there I'll let you introduce any other speakers. If you would, again, just please state your name for the record before you begin.
My name is Brett Flory. I am the architect on the project. I am registered architect in the state of North Carolina, along with about 20 other states. I have 23 years experience, and I've been working with Caliber Collision for 9 years, doing most of their work across the country. I've completed almost 300 of these for Caliber and their developers. I'll be the expert witness on the building, and then Kyle Hoyt would be he's a civil engineer licensed in North Carolina. He would be the expert witness on the site.
Did you say site?
Yes,
expert witness. Okay.
Yeah, civil engineering.
Okay. So I guess if you could just give us, it sounds like you're the architect, but maybe if you can speak at all to the what will be, it sounds like this is a collision repair center. Just if you could educate the board just a bit on what will be happening at this site.
Absolutely. So Caliber Collision will be building a 14,000 square foot new building here. It's their small prototype. They can generate about $600,000 to $700,000 a month revenue out of this location with about 25 employees. They're the world's largest collision repair company. They have almost 20,000 employees and 1,300 locations. This is, they work with all the major insurance companies, and they don't open a location up unless they have commitments from the insurance companies that they want them to be there. So they are the industry leader in the collision repair field. They have all top of the line equipment. And all work is done inside the building. There will be 2 paint booths in there. The shop will be air conditioned, so all the doors are typically left closed unless they're pulling cars in and out. Yeah, all customer vehicles, whether they're damaged or repaired, will be stored behind the opaque fence that'll be locked. So they're, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have on that, but we're hoping to get a special use permit approved for them.
All right.
I was going to say, Mr. Chair, if we could briefly go into Mr. Hoyt's background, and then Mr. Horner, if he's going to be offered or tendered as an expert witness as well.
This is Kyle Hoyt. I don't think I can speak on behalf of of Alex as well. We are both with Hoyt Barini. Myself, I've been in the engineering business now for over 20 years. I'm licensed in about 30 states. I don't have as much experience as Brett with Caliber Collisions, but I've been fortunate enough to be doing Caliber Collisions now for about 3 years. This will be our 5th or 6th project. Outside of that, we've completed numerous automotive repair facilities outside of Caliber Collision, and I'm happy to elaborate on any credentials beyond that the board may see fit.
Okay, and Mr. Horner?
Yeah, this is Alex Horner. I got my civil engineering degree from NC State. I'm a registered professional engineer in South Carolina, and I've worked on a number of Caliber Collisions under Kyle Hoyt and alongside Brett, and we put together some good facilities that I think we're all proud of and hope to do it again here.
Okay, if no objection, I'm gonna try to do all three at once. And is there a motion to accept Brett Flory as a expert in the field of architecture, particularly building architecture for Caliber Collision properties, Alex Horner as a professional engineer, and Kyle Hoyt as a site engineer, professional engineer? Is that fair to you three gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I believe that was Mr. Bullock, the motion.
Second.
And who is our second?
Ryan,
Okay, all right, Mr. Pirtle. All right, Madam Clerk.
Michael Glenn,
Yes?
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Pirtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. Mr. Phillips, do you have anything to add, or could we see if there's any questions from the board?
Yeah, I think if they wanted to present any additional portions of their case, or just go straight to the questions.
We'll leave that up to Mr. Flory, Mr. Horner, Mr. Hoyt, if you have anything to add, or be happy to see if there's any questions from the board.
We've sent in, us submitted some 3D renderings. I don't know if it's that important here, but just kind of giving an idea what the building looks like. I don't know if you've seen those or not, but
Mr. Brett, I was going to ask you, did you want me to show them on the screen?
that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
So this is a kind of an aerial, 3D aerial showing kind of what the building looks like on the side. The front of the building will be brick and stone. We'll have a porte-cochere where customers can drive under and drop their cars off, or have the service riders come out and inspect their cars under, covered canopy. You'll see that there's all the parking, outdoor vehicle storage is behind the fence towards the back of the building. Like I said, all the work is done inside the building, so you won't see any damaged vehicles or anybody, beating on cars when you're driving down the road or anything like that. There's a perspective looking towards the northwest, sort of. Kind of gives you an idea of what the building will look like. All the mechanical equipment will be screened as well. But out of that 14,600 square foot building, about 2,000 square foot of that's office. Roughly 12,600 of that is shop space. We will meet all the local zoning ordinances, building codes, state, federal. Caliber has a company they work with called EnviroSafe, who helps them meet the EPA requirements on all 1,300 other stores across the country. We've read through all the conditions and we take no issues with any of them. They'll be able to meet all those requirements. We'd be happy to.
All right. Okay, do we have any questions for our applicant?
I have a question. I don't know to whom to address it. Item 9 talks about tires stored outdoors. Is there any provision to cover those to keep water out of them? It mentions all the things that it's being protected from, and it doesn't mention mosquitoes.
That's a good question. I can tell you that, we have no issue with that condition, but the reason we don't have an issue with it is because Caliber does not store tires outside. They don't do a lot of mechanical repair work, like changing tires and all that at this location. They'll take it on a flatbed to somebody like Discount Tire or somebody like that and have the tires changed. So they don't do any engine repair work here, and they don't do any tire changing at this location.
Well, it says the maximum number of tires stored outdoors shall not exceed 300. That holds a lot of water and several thousand mosquitoes in the summertime. Is there any way that those can be stored, you mentioned, in an upright position and covered, even a plastic covering over it to keep the water out?
Caliber does not store tires outside. They don't change tires there. They take them off site to a tire repair facility to do that. So they won't have any tires at this location. And I mean, we could even update that condition saying they won't store any tires outside whatsoever. If that's
I would appreciate it if that can be done.
okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bellis. Any other questions for our applicant? All right. Ms. Blunt, could we have the staff recommendation?
Staff has no objection to the request with the recommended conditions. And if Ms. Ann wants that as a condition, that must be put as to a vote.
Okay. I believe we can address that in the second part of our vote. Ms. Bellis can address it then, correct?
You want me to make that as a motion?
Yeah.
If you
Ms. Bellis,
wait,
can she can do that for during the vote on the petition. Is that correct?
correct. So for example,
Okay.
you'll go through your your general criteria, then you'll do your findings of fact, and then you can have with the conditions, approval with the conditions, and then the additional condition, and then you'll need to vote as to why that condition, which of the general criteria that condition applies to health and safety, for example, nuisance or hazard, whichever one that you're making the motion that one is applicable for.
Okay, and you said that's okay. That's the second part of our vote, correct? The approval of the petition.
It's technically the third part. The first part is done by silence, so it's really the third step. That's right. Yes, sir.
I'll come back to Ms. Bellis at that point. Okay. All right. With that, we'll close the public hearing. Is there any board discussion? For expediency, the criteria will be read by reference. You may call for a vote on any criteria as read, and your silence on each criteria is recognized as a vote in favor of the application. Special use permit criteria are as follows: conditions and specifications, comprehensive plan, health and safety, detriment to public welfare, existing use detrimental, injury to properties or improvements, nuisance or hazard. And we'll ask for a motion for the approval of the finding of facts.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Bullock. Do we have a second?
Second.
And who is our second?
Ryan Pirtle.
Mr. Pirtle. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Pirtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
Okay,
right.
and Mr. Chair, and then
Yes,
the last one would be, is there a motion that the applicant's application for the issuance of a special use permit be approved with the staff recommended conditions and the additional condition of no outdoor tires stored on the facility as by consent by the applicant, and that said condition is appropriate and reasonable in accordance with 160D 705 to protect the health and safety of workers and residents of the community, or protect the value and or use of the property in the general neighborhood, and is also to go to the general criteria of nuisance or hazard mitigation. And if so moved,
if somebody wants to make that motion, Ms. Bellis.
Yes, I'd like that motion to go on record.
Okay, all right. Do we have a second to this motion?
A second.
All right, and Mr. Bullock, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Michael Flynn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ron Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you, Mr. Flory. Your application is approved with the recommended conditions and that one that was modified regarding tires. So you guys are good to go as far as we are concerned, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
everyone.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to a last item under new business. As item number 5 is a public hearing on a request for a special use permit by Greenville Community Services LLC. The applicant, Greenville Community Services LLC, desires to operate a child daycare facility pursuant to Appendix A, Use 8A of the Greenville City Code. The proposed use is located at 901 Staten Road. The property is further identified as being tax parcel number 28877. We have some registered speakers this evening. We'll now open the public hearing, and when I call your name, please state your name and address for the record and confirm that you consent to proceed in this remote format. All right, first, looks like we have Trey Greer. If you would please state your name and address for the record and that you consent to proceed.
Trey Greer, 1060 Ridge Grove, Greensboro, Georgia, 30642, and I consent to proceed.
All right, thank you, sir. And looks like we have Zantra Best.
Yes, good evening. My name is Zantra Best. Address is 406 Aztec Lane, Greenville, North Carolina, 27834.
And do you consent to proceed in this remote format?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you. All right, and then Donnie Phillips. Do we have Donnie Phillips with us?
Oh, here I am. My name is Donnie Phillips.
Okay.
You hear me? Okay. I'm
Yes.
at 836 Darrell Drive in Greenville, North Carolina, and I do consent to proceed.
All right, thank you. We'll get you, the three of you sworn in real quick. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you'll provide in the evidentiary hearing of tonight's meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? First, Mr. Greer.
I do.
Okay, and Ms. Best?
I do.
All right, and Mr. Phillips?
I do.
All right, thank you all. Let's see, Mr. Phillips, do we need to address standing? Do you want to address our applicant?
Yes. Let's start with Mr. Greer. As I understand it, Mr. Greer, you are personally the owner of the subject property. Is that correct?
That's correct. Greenville Community Services LLC owns it, and I'm the managing member.
Okay, very good. And Zandra Best, if I mispronounced that, I apologize. Ms. Best, you are affiliated with the project how?
I am a Head Start director.
Okay. And Mr. Phillips, how is it that you're affiliated with the project?
I am the leasehold. I got a lease to purchase from Mr.
Okay.
Greer.
All right. Is there a motion to accept Mr. Greer as the owner of the property and Mr. Phillips as the leasehold interest holder of the property as parties withstanding to this proceeding?
So moved.
All right. Mr. Bullock, do we have a second?
Second.
All right. And we have a second. And again, I'm sorry, who was that?
Mr. Purtle,
Mr. Purtle. Okay, great. All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right. Thank you.
And for purposes of that, for Ms. Best, I assume that she is being offered as a witness as the director of the facility. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Chair, you if you can go ahead and proceed, that's fine.
All right. Let's see. So we are going to hear from Ms. Blunt. If you'd please give us the staff report.
This request is twofold. It is to rescind an elementary special use permit and expand the child daycare facility special use permit. The original special use permit for an elementary school was granted in January 2016. An amendment to add a child daycare facility was granted in September 2020. Now the applicant is rescinding the elementary school portion and converting the majority of the property to a child daycare facility. The property is located in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction and the recognized industrial park area. The proposed use is located at 901 Staten Road. The property is 11.78 acres in size and has approximately 490 feet of frontage along Staten Road. As stated earlier, the majority of the facility will be used for a child daycare facility, 40,915 square feet for Pitt County Head Start and 7,624 square feet for an after-school program. The proposed use is zoned IU, unoffensive industry. Surrounding zoning districts are all IU as well. The surrounding developments include ECVC Recycling Center to the north, FedEx to the south, Greenville Aquatic Center to the east, and Prism Powder Coating and Science and Tint to the west. The property is located within the potential conservation open space character type is designated by the Horizons Plan. The existing use has been in operation and has been determined not to contain barriers to development. Therefore, the request is in compliance with the future land use. This is the view of the front of the Head Start portion of the building. This is a view of the side of the Head Start, the playground area for Head Start. This is the view of the portion of the building that will be for the after-school program. The building is kind of shaped into U, so this is the middle portion of the Head Start part of the building. This is the side closer to the after school and still a portion of Head Start as well. And there is a playground area there, as you can see. And that's it. This is the special use map that shows the location of the Head Start over here, after school over here. This is a better picture. All of those things that are shaded in red is Head Start. All of those shaded in blue is after school. And this map shows those designated spaces for each use. And talking with the occupants of the building, there was mention of a church occupying portion of this building that's indicated on the map in green. However, this request tonight does not include a church as part of this use. That will have to be done in another request whenever the occupant is ready. Notice was mailed to the adjoining property owners on July 6th. It was published in the Daily Reflector on July 11th and 18th. Included in your package was the definition of a child daycare facility and its specific criteria. Staff has the following recommended conditions. Site plan approval is required prior to the issuance of a building permit. Each agency must comply with all criteria independent from one another. The facility shall comply with city code requirements, all state licensing requirements or regulations, and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services regulations prior to operation and maintain all proper licensing. Property shall not operate or evolve into another use without the issuance of a change of use or special use permit for such use. Other comments include project must meet all North Carolina state fire and building codes, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Ms. Blunt.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Blunt and members of the board, if I understand correctly, based upon Ms. Blunt's presentation, prior to proceeding with the consideration of this special use permit, it will require that the applicant voluntarily surrender and cancel the existing special use permit. Is that correct, Ms. Blunt?
That is correct.
So what I would recommend, Mr. Chairman, is we go into a bit of questioning for the applicant to ensure that that is understood and that the applicant consents to that. Then we go to the vote to accept that voluntary surrender and cancellation of the existing special use permit. And then we proceed to hear the applicant's position with regard to the actual special use permit that's before the board for consideration tonight. I hope that makes sense.
I think that's pretty clear. So to our applicant, is that understood? What Mr. Phillips has just described, we need to address the existing special use permits and make sure we're clear that those are being basically you're requesting those to be removed.
Yes, this is Mr. Greer. So yes, we are rescinding the special use for the charter school and applying for the new use for the daycare and after school program.
All right. And we'll, yes, sir.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, if you're satisfied with it, I could go ahead and frame a motion for the board.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the, let me back up for a minute. Mr. Greer, are you, on behalf, as the owner and the applicant, are you voluntarily doing this, surrendering of the special use permit?
Yes, I'm voluntarily doing that on behalf of Greenville Community Services.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the voluntary surrender and cancellation of the existing special use permit for elementary school on behalf of Greenville Community Services, LLC, and the owner of the property?
Yes, so moved.
All right, motion by Mr. Bullock.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Bellis, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, so that takes care of rescinding the prior special use permits. Before we hear from the applicant, were there any questions for Ms. Blunt before we proceed? All right, so Mr. Greer, I'll ask you first, if you know, or whichever one of you would like to address the board and tell us about the application, and if you would just please state your name once again for the record.
This is Trey Greer. I will let Donnie Phillips represent us in terms of describing the project.
Okay.
All right.
I'm Donnie Phillips. Yes, it is our intent here to make this site majority an educational site. And what we've done is we have a site here for the pre-K or early Head Start and also Head Start. And it's our intention here to have these youngsters in here to educate them and to have a great protected site. We have put up fences and done everything that we possibly could to make sure they are secure and protected. And it is our intent to make sure that this site be a site whereby, you know, it will be educational. We're going to have an after-school program, which will be a part of the same building. It's just that it's going to be far on the opposite end. It will not occupy or be occupied within the building or within the space that the Head Start and Early Head Start will be in, but it will be a separate part of the building that the after-school program can exist. This could help a lot of parents in the area. Head Start has a reputation for child care and parent care. So we're excited about what we're going to do here. I think we are on target to ensure that we wanted to expand this program, and I think we've expanded to its capacity to where it could go. So I think we're on target to make sure we have a good and successful program here at 901. With this, I'd like for Ms. Best to kind of reiterate some. She is the head of Head Start, and that's where the majority of all our kids will be coming from, really within the Head Start, Early Head Start program. And we will have some Head Start students that will come, or some students that will come for that school program that will be a little bit in the city.
All right, Ms. Best.
Okay. Yes, I do oversee the Head Start programs there at 901. And so far, we have had great success with the children there. It's a lovely place, as you can see, and we hope to expand and to continue to stay there, serving children and families in Pitt County. And as Mr. Phillips said, the Head Start hours are from 8 to 2:30. And so it will in no way interfere with the after school program.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll ask the board if there are any questions for you all. Any of the board have any questions for any of our speakers? Okay. All right. We will move on. All right. Ms. Blunt, can you give us the staff recommendation?
Staff has no objection to the request with the recommended conditions.
We will close the public hearing and open the floor for any board discussion. All right. All right. We will address the criteria by reference, and you may call on a vote on any criteria as read. Your silence on each criteria is recognized as a vote in favor of the application. Our special use permit criteria are as follows: conditions and specifications, comprehensive plan, health and safety, detriment to public welfare, existing use detrimental, injury to properties or improvements, nuisance or hazard. Do we have a motion to approve the finding of facts?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bullock.
I second it.
And a second by Ms. Evans. And Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right. And thank you. With that, we will call for a motion for approval of the petition with the staff recommendations.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Bullock.
Second it.
And I believe that was Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk?
Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Purtle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, everyone, your application is approved, and we appreciate your patience this evening and wish you all the best with your plans there on Staten Road. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you all. Okay.
Mr.
With
Chair.
that, yes, ma'am.
Just want to remind, this is our last virtual meeting. Next month in August, we will be in person. City Hall, 3rd floor. This is our last.
I don't have to worry about my Wi-Fi not working. Okay.
So is it the last?
It's the last.
Outstanding.
Outstanding.
All right, everybody. Well, you heard it from the source. Okay, so we'll see you all next month. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Oh, I second that, young lady.
All right, that was, y'all heard that for the record. And Madam Clerk, if you would please confirm that.
Yes, sir. Michael Glenn,
Yes.
Rodney Bullock,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann Bellis,
Yes.
Sharon Evans,
Yes.
Nathan Cohen,
Yes.
Ryan Hurdle,
Yes.
John Landrine.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Chair, the motion was approved unanimously.
All right, thank you all and have a good evening. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.